In Your Own Words, a conversation with John Nichols, better known as Jack. We start Jack's journey at the beginning.
I remember we grew up, we lived behind our store. My father was a butcher and he had a market on Kingsway. And we lived in behind, the whole family, one little, anyway. I still remember the old tin tub for bathing on Saturday night. And I remember one winter the roof caved in on our bedroom, snow under heavy snow. I remember that. And there was always things to do. I used to work with my dad in the market, sweeping floors and, scraping blocks, stuff like that. And we had a lot of kids in the neighborhood. They all lived in kind of a little cul-de-sac almost behind the merchant stores. So, and one in particular, her name was Kate O'Cook. Her father was a radio man. He had a radio shop right next to us, and they lived upstairs in an apartment. And so we kind of grew up as sister and brother, because I didn't have any. I was from a second family, and I had a half brother and two half sisters, but they were gone when I came along.
Was that from your dad or your mom?
My dad, yeah. And he had rather a interesting life. He came over here in 1908, I think it was, from England, and he went to work on the Kettle Valley Railroad as a surveyor. And he worked up there in 1912, around that. Then he got injured and had to leave that field. And the story has it, I ramble.
No, that's great.
The story has it from a cousin of mine that in Winnipeg was a manufacturing town or city, and the saddles and stuff were made for the horses around there. And the women used to put their names and addresses somewhere in the saddle and ship them out to all parts of the country. And as it had it, my father supposedly got a saddle with a name in it. So he followed it to Winnipeg and eventually married to one.
Just because there was a name in the saddle?
Now, that's the story I got from one of my cousins. My father would never talk about that part of his life. But anyway, and then eventually worked his way. And he got into a little problem with the law somewhere, I don't know. Again, he did some time up the river for something or other. Can't never find out that. Anyway, when he came out, I guess his wife left, and so he came west and met my mother in Saskatchewan, in Battleford. And anyway, then they came to Vancouver and settled there.
So then you're the only child from the second marriage.
Yeah.
So kids in the neighborhood, you worked at your dad's shop, the butcher shop?
As far as I can remember, I used to picnic every night after school, coming home and helping out around there. Oh, I had time to play too, but I still remember that. I used to enjoy that, washing windows. And as I got older, I used to help him in the shop, cutting stuff up until I just cut my thumb off one day. And he says, "Well, I told you not to use that cleaver." So I went back to sweeping floors for a while after that. And I went to Kingsway West School in Burnaby, which wasn't too far away, right next to close to the old Ford plant, which used to be in Kingsway. If you remember that, I don't know. And so I was close to there, but there was no after-school activities like we have today. You went to school and you came home again. So, I don't know, we rode our bikes around. I never had a bike till after the war, I guess, of my own.
How old would you have been then?
Well, I was born in 1935, so in 1945, my father built a house finally on Hazel Street, which is just a stone's throw from where his business was. And while the house was being built, property next door got cleared and the house was started to build there, and it turned out to be Fred O'Cook, our old neighbor. So we grew up with Kay until she was married, for both houses. So it was lots of fun.
What were your teenage years like? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. I worked pumping gas in garages after school, and I worked at Kelly Douglas unpacking boxcars, and for Nabob, I tell everybody I was a coffee blender. Sounded like a good job, but all you had was you get an order for coffee, it'd be 3 or 4 bags of Colombo coffee and so many Argentina, big bags of green beans, and you had to dump them into hoppers. You were blending it. Yeah, that was a job. Anyway,
Sounds like you were always working though.
I was working, doing something, yeah. Christmas time, we delivered mail for the post office. They hired on extra people as kids. I don't know. Well, if you needed bucks, you had to work for it. There was never anybody there handing you money, But
Was that something your parents instilled in you, or you just kind of knew that if you wanted something, you had to work?
I guess so. I know at home there, if I say, look, I need a new pair of boots, well, I'll go paint the fence, or go and clean the gutters, and then you can buy a new shirt. You had to earn it, that sort of thing, which was nothing wrong with that. And we were all always well dressed and everything. I'm not saying we went without by any means, but that was a good time. We had lots of pals around. That the odd guy have a car, and we go on a joyride once in a while. But there was never any pot smoking or beer drinking because we just didn't. There's nowhere to get it. In fact, I don't think I heard of pot till I left school. What's that?
Yeah.
Nearest liquor store was in Vancouver, Maine and Hastings, which was about 15 miles away. So,
It's amazing when you look at things now compared to when you were a kid.
oh yeah, gosh, I look at my grandchildren. Oh, stuff they got. They're all wired into everything like you got here, and I guess they're bloody mad. They come around for a visit and they sit there with I don't know where it is, a phone is it or something? Even at the dinner table. Is it my job or their parents' job to put a lid on it, They wouldn't do that around my table. If that was my house, well, it is my house, but they're my guests. I just hate that. I come to the table and we can talk. Let's sit there with that, or we're at. Jeez, mad. I shouldn't, but I do.
No, I hear you. So, teenager, what did you know what you wanted to do when you were in high school? Did you know what you wanted to do? What did you think you wanted to do?
Yes, I did, actually. Good, interesting. While we were living on Hazel Street, they were clearing land at the end of the street there. A guy had an old bulldozer, 2U Cat, I watched that thing for a few days, just walked down and watched him drive that around. I thought, geez, that would be great fun, to work around these things. And then I had an uncle who came out from the prairies in the wintertime, and he would get a job out here somewhere. Anyway, this particular time, he got a job as a dozer operator. And he took me with him one day, just for something to do. And I fell in love sitting up there, running that machine. And that's when I decided that that's what I was going to do, and that's what I did. Not really that particular machine, but I was into the monkey wrenching business. I went to work for a guy in New Westminster. I can remember walking in there and said, look, I need a job. Can you give me something? Sure, he said, what can you do? I says, you name it and I'll try it. He said, I'll give you 50 cents an hour. I says, done.
What year is this?
About 1954, around there. So I worked there for a year at 50 cents an hour, learning a little bit about monkey wrenching and diesel engines. And then I had an occasion to go to Campbell River on a field call. I had to change the crankshaft in one of the pump engines on a dredge up there. And while I was there, I used to watch the crew come on board and sit around. The dredge wasn't working, of course. Then they go home, next shift would come on. I worked for a night and a day to fix this thing. Well, these guys came on board and did nothing. So I got a hold of the superintendent and I says, you know, if you ever need anybody for this crew, here's my phone number. Well, 2 weeks later, he called me. He said, if you're interested, because the engineer just quit, I'll be up there tomorrow, which I wasn't, but I was up there in a couple of weeks.
What did that job pay?
I think it was $360 or something.
Oh, considering you were at 50 cents an hour.
Well,
That's when you started, but I guess it changed.
I was up to 90 cents when I did that. And I stayed with that right till the last 10 years of my work life, I guess.
Really?
Yeah. My health kind of went to pieces, and I wasn't able to get, around too well. So I went to work for the GVRD, and in their engineering department there, looking after all the pump stations and stuff.
So that was really just a chance thing when you went up there and said, "Hey,
yeah,
it was. Someone give me a call," and look how that kind of.
That's
that
right.
was the fork in the road, or a choice you made at one
Exactly,
point that had a huge impact.
And it really worked well because I never was, other than the odd strike, for a few months in that period of time. I've been 60 years in that union. Next year will be 60 years. I still pay my dues. I don't know why, I just do.
When did you meet your wife?
I guess must have been about 55 or 56, I guess. She was a student nurse at St. Paul's Hospital. And whenever I came to town, we used to try and get together with the old gang, to do something for a couple of days. I had a friend who had a friend at St. Paul's. His name was Bob Bruce. Nice chap. He said, look, I got a date with Myrtle. Why don't I get you a date and we'll go out, somewhere. So he phoned Myrtle and said, look, can you get somebody? So he got Mabel to come out with us. And that was the start of it. And 2 years later, I guess, we were married.
What was it like back then to be working, have dough in your pocket?
Well, it was good because whenever I came to town and had to do something, I had dough. But in between, we were out somewhere.
Couldn't spend.
Couldn't spend it. And, I don't know, these nurses they didn't get much money, they got about $20 a month or something. And they weren't used to too much extravaganza stuff. They liked just to go down to the park or go for a few beers and nothing fancy. But we loved dancing. Oh, whatever we could go to a dance, that's where we went. Yeah. Right till the day our health bombed out. Yeah. Oh, you can't be. Did you dance at all?
Not as much as my wife would like.
Yeah. We didn't do that stuff. We used to have our arms around each other those days.
But there was dance halls, right? That was the thing to do.
Well,
that was the thing.
There was the embassy was in Vancouver. There was town hall. There was the Pender Auditorium and the Kennedy Hall. Oh, there was all over the place. There was dance halls.
So what was that like to go to you're on you know what I mean? You're on a date. You're going to a dance hall. Did they serve drinks at the dance hall? Did they have licenses, or they were dry places?
No, they were dry places. You usually had maybe a coffee bar, but you kept the bottle out in your car if you wanted to drink out in the parking lot.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, some guys would bring a bottle in, but that's kind of...
That wasn't classy. It was better to keep it in the car.
Yeah. But there were clubs around town. There was the Cave. The Dugout was a good spot to go on Seymour. I used to go there. You went in there, and each table leg had a spot there you could put a jar in. These were the days with Chief Mulligan, was it? Mm-hmm. And the cops would come in and raid the place. They walk around with their flashlights. They lift up the tablecloths, and they'd be bottles all over under there, and out they go. It was all graft.
Right.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, but they were good times.
No, I would think so. It's a different.
Oh yeah. And nobody had hot cars or big cars either. Just most of them had jalopies. With my trade, I had a pickup truck, so that got us around. Yeah. Mabel's family all lived in Hope, at the time. Her parents were in the Coquihalla Pass on the railroad. They were railroaders. Actually, no, when I met them, they were in Merritt. Sorry. But they lived in the Coquihalla and the Hope area. In fact, her brother, Jack, just turned 100 in Hope. They had a party for him up there. He was on the news.
He turned 100.
Yep. Jack Lawrence, yep.
What was her family okay with you when you first showed up?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if they had something to say, they never said it. They might have said something, I don't know. They were good. They were good folks. Yeah, they were good folks. And
so 2 years dating, and you're going to get married.
yeah, we got married in.
Do you remember how you proposed?
Oh yeah, I guess I'll never live that one down either. I guess we'd had a few drinks and Mabel swung down where I was living. She boarded my truck that night. So she said, I'll drop you off because she was going to go to work or something. And, oh, I said, by the way, here's something for you. And I gave her a ring. I said, I'll see you.
That was it.
That was it. Oh, God. Yeah, I never lived that one down.
But it worked.
It worked. Yeah. Oh, she was tickle pink. And things didn't go entirely the way she wanted them to go, of course. And I was not used to too much of that life, you know. But anyway, we got married and we had 5 kids after.
5 kids.
Yeah, one every year for 5 years, and finally figured it out.
What at the beginning, because again, you have no idea at the beginning, being a dad and everything, again, you knew your dad and how he did things. And
Well, fortunately, like I say, I spent more time out of town than I did at home. And I regret that to this day. When I used to come home and the kids were little, they were so good when they're little, you know. And then I'd come home Saturday morning maybe, and Sunday afternoon I was gone again. And sometimes you couldn't get home due to ferries or whatever. And seemed like every time I came home, there was a new kid in the house. That's not true. The kid.
no, but they would have been. But you could see them getting bigger.
Oh yeah, yeah. And when the last one was born, Morgan, he's the fellow that was here, the tall one. That's when we decided Mabel's health was not too good, and I should do something about it. So I did. And so they were the last one. Then we had another little girl. I guess I ramble a lot when I talk. We had a big house, and there was an article in the BC Catholic, I think it was, looking for homes for these kids, Indian children from reserves around that come to the city for education. And so we had a spare bed. I thought, well, why not get one? Not thinking because I wasn't home that much and it didn't bother me. So anyway, this was interesting. So we got a call from the Indian agent, Mr. Ham was his name. You're to meet this girl, Lila Wallace, at the PGE train station in North Vancouver on Labor Day. So, okay. We go over there and we're looking and looking and looking, and how the hell are we going to tell? Because there must be 1 million Indian children on the train, you know, all coming down to Vancouver. So anyway, we waited until there was one little girl left on the platform, and we introduced ourselves. Are you Lila Wallace? Yeah. How old are you? She says, I'm 13. And these kids were supposed to be 18 years and older. Oh dear. Anyway, she was a sweet girl. So come on. So we took her into our home and became part of our family for a few years.
See, another thing. So why do you think, was that something about the way your parents brought you up, or that you wanted, was it that you would do that? Not everyone does that.
I think, you know, I've often thought of that. And I love children. And not having kids, you know, brothers and sisters of my own, so to speak, to grow up with, I guess I kind of missed that. In fact, my wife and I, we have disagreements. She has 6 or 7 in her family. And she looked at me and said, "You're lucky you don't have any brothers or sisters." I said, "Yeah, I could say the same for you. I'd like some." So there you go. It's, I don't know. I just never regretted it for 1 minute. In fact, I was looking forward to having more. But
Were you a strict dad?
I
Were you-
don't think I was really. I was a little softy. Kids got pretty well, because nobody sat on me, I guess, and I didn't sit on them. As long as you behave yourself, that's the thing. Don't get into trouble. Because if you do, I remember my dad telling me that. 2 things, he says. Keep it in your pants and you'll stay out of trouble. And if you get into trouble, you're on your own to get out. I thought, oh boy, that's good enough for me. So I remember my half-brother phoned up. He was in jail he had a drinking problem. And he was in jail. And he needed some bail money to get out. And Father says, "No, I told you. You get into trouble, you find a way to get out." And that's where it was left. He got out somehow, I guess. In fact, drinking killed him eventually in a car accident.
Aye.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if Morgan had mentioned to me, did you have a service station? Did you have a business with your half-brother? What was his name?
His name was George.
George. Oh.
George Godfrey Nichols.
So even though you came after the second marriage and you were the only child and you said the other kids were gone already, you obviously at some point connected with them.
Oh, yeah. Well, the youngest one, Ruth was her name. She lived with us for a short time. But I don't remember. It was just, she was only there for a couple of years of my younger life. And she left. She was in her teens. And Joyce was the oldest girl. And I met them quite by accident in the Legion and Joyce Road there one time, her and her husband. They were a nice couple. They were nice. Nothing wrong with them. And then Ruth was kind of the odd one, I guess. He used to come by the house, and you could bet your bottom dollar when she left, there'd be something missing off the wall, or one of those types.
Yeah. What about George?
And George, he was bitter towards my father because he was sent up to a farm somewhere during the 30s, and the work. Well, father was not here, or if he was here, he couldn't look after him anyway. So he farmed him out for his younger years until the war years came along, I guess. And then he was pissed off because he was flat-footed, and he tried twice to get into the army, and they wouldn't take him. So he spent his war years in the shipyards, like a lot of guys did. And then he went logging for a number of years. And then he went to work for McCall Frontenac, driving a barrel truck around the city. And that's when he decided maybe this garage would be a good business, McCall Frontenac, or Texaco as it's called now. And so my father, George, and myself went into this thing as partners. And it didn't work out too well, and we eventually gave it up. And George went to Lillooet. He bought a gravel truck in Lillooet and proceeded to try and make a business for himself. Left his wife and family in Burnaby, and that's where he met his demise, drinking one night and up by Hat Creek there someplace on that road. Yeah. And he was about 40 then, I guess.
Oh, young.
I was in my 20s. Yeah. I liked George. He was a good shooter, He had nothing against me. Just once in a while, he'd get drinking and he'd get pissed off with Dad. Right. But that's the way it was. And he learned to trade too, and he would help Dad out in the meat market once in a while, as we all did.
How long did your dad keep the meat market?
Well, until he retired. That was in 1953 or 4, somewhere in there.
Did you ever think of taking that over and doing
Yes,
that?
you did. He, matter of fact, he came to me, and he came to my half-brother and asked, us that we were interested in taking this business. I said, no, not me. I know what I want to do.
Right.
And George, he didn't want it either, I guess. Which is just as well, because a year or so after that is when the Dominion store built down at the corner, and then IGA up the other corner, this sort of thing.
Right.
Supermarkets took over, and it wasn't long before the store just went, whoever bought it couldn't make a go of it.
Right.
So, too bad. All these little merchants all folded up. Yeah.
Did you ever take your kids by where the store used to be?
Oh, yeah, I've taken them there and showed them. In fact, my daughter came up from Las Vegas, maybe 2-3 years ago, and wanted to show somebody where we used to live. So she drove us around there and into the back alley. Of course, the old bedroom, which I told you collapsed, it was gone. But the old original building was still there. So she went in and asked if we could go in and look around. It's a print shop now, it was print things anyway. So we went in there, and I said, yeah, this is where the old bathtub used to sit, and there's where the old stove used to sit. And how the hell did we ever live in here?
So the house you grew up in, you came back to
Yeah,
with your family.
that's right.
How did that happen?
Well, we had a house on Willing, and kids kept coming, and pretty soon we ran out of room. And my mother lived by herself in there, so I said, look, you got a 5-bedroom home here. Why don't I buy it off you? Because I got to move out of where I'm at now and get something else. So we bought the old house there and raised my family in it.
That would have been strange or interesting or kind of fun.
Yeah, it was. The house still standing, too.
Right.
Yeah, it's slated for a demo. But, yeah, it was a good old shack. That was a good street to live on. There were lots of activities. We had a drunken plumber lived across the street, and a plumber lived behind, and them two were at war with each other all the time. And one guy lived in a shack right behind our fence, and once in a while you see him asleep on our backyard. He never made it home. Oh yeah, lots of activity.
Now, when you grew up, there was lots of kids. When you were there with your family and your kids, were there still lots of kids in the neighborhood for them?
Yeah, there were a few within a block or so. Yeah, on our street there was a few, and not as many as when were there, I guess, when I grew up. But when I was a little kid, there was lots around. See, there was a strip on Kingsway where the stores were, and one up this side, like an L shape. So we had the whole area behind there in the lane, which was open for playing around. Yeah, you remember the Silver family? Oh, they had a big house right behind us, and they had a field there with a cow, but they named the street after them, Silver Avenue, I guess. And they had old cars, I mean 20s, 30s, and the story had it, Old Man Silver bought a car for each one of the kids. No, that's what I heard anyway. And like there was a Stutz Blackhawk and a Stutz Bearcat and a bunch of other fancy cars. They had a big garage in the backyard, and they were pretty good mechanics. And 2 big cars in the garage under the house. Now when I grew up, there was 2 left. There was Ken and Huey, brothers. And they lived in the kitchen and a bedroom. The rest of the house was closed off. But Ken got hit with a streetcar or something in Vancouver and got to be kind of crippled up a little bit. And he used to sit on McKay and Kingsway. There was a Royal Bank there. And in front of the bank, there was an old flower planter, I think. And he would sit on that all day long talking to people as they walked by. Of course, everybody knew Ken, And Huey came in every Saturday for a chunk of cheese and a pound of hamburger. So the 2 of them lived in the old house. And I don't know. I don't think they had any family. But when they died, I guess the house is gone now and it's parking lot. But it was too bad because he would let the kids come over and look at the old cars, and then one year the roof caved in on the garage in the back, and the Vancouver Auto Club or somebody came by with an auto carrier and took all the old cars away, but they left the ones in the house. And there was a painter, Ed Williams, lived on Olive Street in Burnaby, old-time resident. Him and Huey, I guess, grew up together. And when Huey died, he left this big Stutz Blackhawk to Ed. Well, Ed had a little woodshed and nowhere to park this thing, and he said it cost him a fortune to put tires on it. Been sitting there so long. And insurance, he said, was out. He finally had to sell it. He couldn't afford it. So, of course, there was always Americans around buying these things, and that's where it went to the States. So, that was a lovely car. I used to sit in it, pretend I was Al Capone. You know. Oh, yeah. God.
Do you ever see, do you still talk to anyone from the old, from like really the far back days?
Yeah, well, Kay O'Cook or Kay Jackson's her married name. She's the only one that I know that's even alive. And she's in a home now up in Surrey. I phone her from time to time. I've known her for 83 years. And always her mind's starting to go, her memory. Well, whose isn't? But, oh yeah, I was her best man at her wedding. She married a fellow by the name of Don Jackson. He was an American from Michigan, a war vet. And he eventually went to Western Washington College and got a degree in something. But he ended up in the lab at the Standard Oil Refinery on Willingdon. He worked there for his career. And then, well, not that long ago, I was in Florida at the time when he died. Took a heart attack and died. Yeah. Well, Jackson used to have a lot of fun. He stayed at a place on North Garden Drive in Bellingham. There was 2 or 3 old war vets, and they were all going to school. And across the street was the Eaton House, which was the women's dormitory for the college. So there was always lots of activity happening, on North Garden Drive, yeah. I went down a couple of times.
Does it seem like a lifetime ago, or at the same time like yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yeah.
It does, yeah. I was just talking to my wife the other day. I said there isn't one person that I have not alive, old buddies or friends, old friends of mine that I grew up with. There isn't anybody left.
That's hard.
It is hard, yeah.
I hear you were pretty involved in Big Brothers, or Big and Scouts?
Oh, yeah, I had a big brother for a couple of boys. Jeepers, their name slips my mind now, but the first chap was, he wasn't too well, he's slow, kind, lovely kid, just didn't seem to have any. And we got a hard time keeping him in school. He just didn't apply himself. So one time he got caught breaking and entering somewhere. And, of course, he got expelled from secondary school. So that, well, gosh, this kid's got to get some education. So I went down to see the principal at school there. And I walked in, and I'll be doggone if it wasn't an old school teacher of mine who taught me chemistry. So we stopped, and his name was Denton. We stopped and BS about the old days. And anyway, he said, you'll have to see the principal about this kid. So I walked into the principal's office, and it was my old phys ed teacher. So we had a great time talking. Anyway, I got the boy back into school if he took, correspondence course from then till Easter. If he did good with that, he could finish the year off. So he he did, and he finally finished school and he graduated. And he started working for the Vancouver Post Department. And I think he was there till last time I saw him. Doing well. He married, had a family, and the second little guy, he came from a family in Burnaby, and again, just needed some man. You know, his name slips my mind too. I used to bring him along with my family when we went fishing or something. You know, just included him in with the family, even though they wanted you to have more one-on-one. I said, well, I don't have that much time for one-on-one, but I tried to.
So the native girl, big brothers. You had 5 kids of your own, and as you said, you didn't have a lot of time, but yet you still made time to help others. Like especially kids.
Mm-hmm. That's what you do, isn't it?
Not everybody.
I don't know. The Scouts was an interesting career. I was there, 10, 15 years, I guess.
What made you do that? Were your kids involved, so you got involved at the beginning?
Yeah,
or?
my boys, my oldest son anyway, at the time, he became a Cub. And when my kids were involved in something, I like to try and keep a finger on it all. So I went over there and shot my mouth off at a parent meeting. I said, look, I come here and watch to see these kids. They're not doing bugger all, you know. And they said, well, if you think you can do better, why don't you? I said, well, I'll do just that. So I shot my mouth off and, shot my foot off and became a career Cub leader for a few years till my older boys got into Scouts. And then we got them up in the Scouts, which is more outdoorsy stuff, which we liked. And once they got through, I became the district the top man in the district, and then in the region. And then all of a sudden I thought, I don't have any kids left in this organization. Why don't I step down and let somebody else do it? So I did that. And I was away too a lot, unfortunately, and I don't know, everything just sort of,
Just happens.
Happens, yeah, and I loved every minute of it.
You mentioned you liked to be, if your kids were into something, you wanted to kind of have your finger on what was happening.
Yep. And then we became, like, my wife is part native, and I guess I retired, and I needed something to do. So the Surrey Museum had a thing happening one day, so I went over there and got talking. And first thing you know, I was in there teaching First Nations stuff in the museum. So they bring busloads of kids over and you run them through a program. And I rather liked that. We did that for a few years, my wife and I. And you meet some good people, lots of kids, lots of fun. And then they quit that because the new laws here now with car seats, you couldn't put 6 or 8 kids in your car and bring them over to a thing like that. You had to have a car seat or a bus. Well, couldn't afford it, so all of a sudden the attendance dropped, and a lot of it was stopped because no kids to show up. So we left there. And then we were very active in an organization called Retrovi. It's for hurting marriage. We struggled with our marriage because I was away and so on. So we got involved with that for, I don't know how many years. You go to a weekend and you get, 20, 30 couples for 2 days, and you pound a technique of communication into them. And we traveled all over North America and Canada. And even when we were still working at the time. Getting weekends, that was a time commitment.
You do a lot of things that have time commitments.
Yeah, I don't know.
For a guy that doesn't have a lot of time, you do a lot of things that have time commitments.
Yeah, well, we liked doing that because it was helping people out, and you didn't always win, but percentage-wise, we were up around 70% recovery, you might say.
That would have been just the people and the places you would have gone would have been interesting. Just the showing up and like, where's some of the places you went?
Okay, we went to BC, of course, was Vancouver mostly, and the island, and Edmonton, Calgary, Saskatoon, and then Seattle, Portland, Spokane, Phoenix, Chicago. I don't know. Wherever they needed somebody, that's where we went. At least they picked up the airfare, so you didn't have any expenses out of your own pocket except your time off. Which in our case, if you took a time off from work, which you did quite often to get a flight out Friday, because the program started Friday evening. So likely as not, you had to take a day off from work, which comes out of your pocket. Mm-hmm. But what's that? A few dollars.
You mentioned when you had, the big brother, you would take them when you went fishing.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes, camping, fishing, that was the thing the family liked to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you had time, apparently if you had time.
Yeah. And I bought an old Crummy. Do you know what a Crummy was? Up in the bush we had these little buses, 12, 16 passenger buses, super duper suspension and all steel bodies and so forth for moving the crews around. Anyway, I did a job for a guy and he owed me some money. And he had this Crummy sitting in his yard. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll take that in lieu of what you owe me. Well, he was happy to get rid of it. It was one of those yellow things. So I brought it home and Mabel just about shrieked, what are you doing parking that in our yard? I says, you wait. So I camperized it. And eventually, but before I did that, I used to use that to take the kids out. Because 9 out of 10 times it was a struggle getting rides for the kids to go anywhere. So I said, look, I can carry 16 in here. Any more, you're on your own. So I rattled all over the country with these kids in that damn little bus. It didn't look like much. And then a couple of times I went in there and they'd shut the fire extinguisher off, inside. I said, that's it. Go get your own ride from here on in. So then I tore the seats out and camperized it. And as a family, we used it. Traveled all over Canada. Really? It wasn't much to look at, but she was held for strong. It was all steel.
Was it fun traveling with all the kids and going? And
Yeah. I loved traveling with these kids. They were a lot of fun. George Yola's one. He's I laugh. We had a cabin on the island that we built, a little house actually. So we were heading over there this weekend and left the boys at home. And Morgan, she says, are you leaving the Iron Claw in charge? That's what they used to call George. Because he'd pick him up and two other guys. Anyway, so Morgan says, what's the helpline number? He says, George didn't tolerate any bullshit from these kids. Funny, we were just talking about these two guys. I traveled back to a scout jamboree with them one year to PEI. Anyway, on the way home, we stopped at Toronto to visit some relatives. And we were downtown waiting for a streetcar. And these two guys were always scuffling together. So they got rolling around on the sidewalk. And all the people waiting for a streetcar, oh, these kids are fighting. You better stop them. I said, why? Getting rid of some steam. Whoa. Anyway, I said, all right, streetcar's here. So they got up and we got on. Another horror story. I regress here, but I'll tell you anyway.
Oh, we love the horror stories.
The same time we were in Toronto, we were at Scarborough. I don't know if you know the area. Subway started there, and we were going to Islington. So we got down there. We got on, getting to go on the car because it started. So me and Morgan got on, and Casey was dillying around on the platform. He said, Jesus, get on. The doors are open. Get on this. Oh, I'll get the next one. He said, left him on the platform. He had no idea where he was at, where he was going. So what's he going to do? Is he going to stay there or get the next streetcar and go, or subway? I was in a real dizzy. So Morgan, he raced up to the motorman. He said, "Stop this thing." He said, "You left my brother back there." So the motorman says, "Well, I can't do that." So we got to the next station, which was Victoria. And I got off. I thought, surely he's going to wait there. So I got off the platform, and we're figuring out how the hell to get from here down up to the other side. And we looked over there, and there's Casey standing there with a security guard. Apparently the motorman had radioed back to the security that he left the kid there. And he would let him know where we got off. Then he could get the next car. Hey, how about that?
See, that doesn't happen these days.
No. Oh, geez. I could have killed it. My daughter did it. Oh, this seems to be a trait with our family. I don't know. We got on to I was going to Edinburgh. We got the King Cross station. Are you familiar with England? So we're getting the Scotsman up. So my daughter, Kelly, gets on. And I didn't know where she got to. She's like that. She's just all over. So I'm standing on the platform, and this train is going to go any minute. You know, the whistle's going tweet, tweet. And oh, shit, where the hell is she? Do I get on or another one? All of a sudden, I see this little head sticking out one of the doors. She says, "Here I am." I just made that one.
Well, 5 of them, there'd be stories all the time.
Oh, I tell you, yeah.
How many times do you have to turn around and count to go, okay, is everybody here?
Oh, yeah, we were just talking about that the other day. It was up our kids and my wife's sisters. She had 6 or 7 at the time. And they went to Crescent Beach. Anyway, they had a picnic. I wasn't there. And anyway, they got back to the house to do something, and they took a head count, and all of a sudden, geez, we're one short. That one little kid sitting on the beach in Crescent Beach, they're playing away with, I guess they raced back. This was from Langley. Raced back to Crescent Beach, and they found them just digging away on the sand pile. My oldest still goes with his family, but these guys here, I don't think they bother anymore. But maybe my wife and I used to go to daily mass, and then my health got where I couldn't sit there any longer. So we get communion brought to the house or to the residence. Mm-hmm. And my wife is, her health, she can't, we can't get there. Or she can't. I can get there on a scooter, right. But then I get there and I can't. Anyway, yeah, we still get communion, but we went every day, or every Sunday, rather. Yeah. Yeah. But the kids were all brought up to the Catholic Church, the Sunday school, what the hell they call it? Short memory. Well, Sunday school, they call it something else.
What about, I think Morgan had mentioned something about Scottish heritage.
Oh,
kind of getting into that a little bit at times.
Yeah, my mother's family came from an island called Islay.
That was Alma's mother, right?
Yeah. And in fact, we were back there just a few years back, the daughters and I, and just to tour the island and see where the old homestead was. That's interesting too. It's been many years since they left that island, and as you know, these little kirks, or the churches as they call them, is where all the old records used to be kept before they had a town city hall. And the mice get in there and water gets in there, so all the records get wrecked. So we went to the town hall there to say, look, we're trying to locate this farm area now, so we don't know what it's called, but we know who owned it. Well, the old lady says, well, you know, that's a long time ago, sonny. So they got the maps out, and said, oh, there's nothing on this one. And this little old lady from out back come out of the. She says, "What are you looking for?" So we told her, "Oh yeah, okay." She reaches up there and blows the dust off this thing. And she opens this old thing up. And, well, there it is, right there. She says, "It's called Aragori. It's called Aragori. God's free shearing is what the Gaelic translation is." She says, "You're lucky. This is my last day here." She says. No, nobody else knew that was there. So we found out where it was, and we went back there and drove around. We parked the car. Said, "Well, I think this is it." And then this Land Rover come putting by, and his what do you call him, a Ranger or something, stopped. "Can I help you?" He says, "Yeah, we're looking for Aragori." "Oh, that's it right there," he says. Just like that. He said, "All the buildings are gone." I said, "I guess so, but that's the land." So I brought a stone home from there, and I had it cut up and made some brooches up for the girls.
Oh, that was a great idea.
Yeah, it wasn't a fancy mineral. It was a rock from the old farm. Yeah. Oh yeah, I love that place. We went into a hotel to have a drink. You got to have a drink over there. And the barmaid got talking, "Where you from?" "Well, we're from British Columbia." "Oh, just a minute," she says. She called her daughter, who was cooking there, out into the front, and she says, I forget her name, we'll call her Marie. "Marie, this is the way I used to talk." I says, "What do you mean?" "Well," she says, "I was born and raised in Toronto." Ah, dear.
Any other family trips have you taken like that where?
Well, oh, not really. We visited Saskatchewan, some of the cousins back there. Of course, they're all. Well, this is interesting. Remember that train that ran into that busload of hockey players?
Yes.
Or the truck?
Yeah.
And there was a crane that went and salvaged the. Well, we just happened to get a glimpse of that on the paper or the news, the name on there. And I said, "By golly, that's my cousin." I remember my uncle lived at a place called Tisdale, which is near Humboldt somewhere. So we looked up, McFadden was his name, that's my name, too, middle name. So looked up the phone number and phoned, and my God, it was in fact my cousin who had the business there that lifted the wreckage. Yeah. Every kid in the family had the same name, McFadden. That's a Scottish trait. You take your mother's clan name.
It was like a middle name, kind
Yeah,
of?
yeah. So every person would have that as a second name. Like we had neighbors. Name was this is funny. Gustafson. He was a Swede, but he married a Scottish lady, and the guys I used to pal with was Robert McGregor Gustafson. Yeah. And there was another one. His name was Bruce Robert Hay, Hay. That was his mother's name. Robert Hay Bruce.
Hey, Bruce.
Hey Bruce. Yeah. So there's lots of them around like that.
Now, I'm just thinking. I'm looking at the names of your kids. It was Kelly, George, Cindy, Casey, Morgan.
Yeah.
A lot of C's. Kay, Kelly, Casey.
Well,
Cindy.
We get into arguments over that too. Kelly was. I had a couple of friends with that name, Kelly. I don't know. I rather liked that, and I said, I think we'll call her Kelly. Simple as that. And then George was named, of course, after my father, and Edward was Mabel's father, so George Edward. And then Cindy, there again, I like that name, Cindy Lou. Yeah, that's kind of a pretty name. And then her middle name, Louise, was her mother's name, Mabel's mother, Louise. So Cindy Louise. And then Casey, his name is John, actually. I guess he didn't like John. Casey's his middle name. I don't know how the hell he got that name.
And then he didn't like John, but that's your name too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't use it really.
Well, there was too many Johns. They said, so they used to call me Jackie. And the last one that called me Jackie died recently, old timer, neighbor. But Jack's always been my name. And
then Morgan's name?
again, I don't know. It just sort of seemed to suit him. I'm not so sure he likes it, but he could always change it, as he did. Yeah. Can you spell his last name?
Pardon me?
Can you spell Morgan's last name?
No.
No, I can't either. Never have been able to do it. Anyway, so that's the story of their names. And
What's it like being, what do you got, 2, 4, what do you have, 6 grandchildren? 1 great-grandchild, I think?
yeah, well, I feel disappointed, really. There was, let's see, we'll start with the first ones. That's Kyle and Christina. They were raised from a split family where we didn't really get an opportunity to spend a whole lot of time with them. We did, but it seemed like we were rescuing them more than we were spending, good quality time with them. And it wasn't until Kelly got herself straightened out a little bit. By that time, the kids were all, teenagers and doing their own thing. And then Cindy's kids, when they went to the States, that was Aaron, who lives up here, which we never see. He was in the States and he moved back again. He said there's no opportunity down there for smart people, so he came up here. What he's doing now, he's working for some outfit in the computer gaming, but he looks after all the computer business, the electronic business. Can't talk to them because they're all up in another world, them guys, And his sister is the manager of some Harley shops in Vegas. Neither one of them are married. They're in their 30s. They're close to it. And the 2 little ones, we don't see them too much. Their mother was, you're going to raise them my way and nobody else's way, You weren't allowed to pick them up or touch them when they were little. And I have a great granddaughter who, I don't know. It's funny, the oldest granddaughter, the only time we see her is when she wants some cash, And I finally closed the door last. I bought her a car. So that's it. Don't come to me anymore. Because the only time we see you is when you want money, and we haven't seen her since.
Right.
So I don't think we were very successful grandparents.
Yeah, but not really. You're out of your hands. How often did you? They're not even in your circle that you can see.
No.
No,
it's true. But really, it's where we live. There's 80. I don't know. I'll say 60 people. I can't remember. And some of them have kids come in to see them every day or every other day, and they take them out for lunch. And we don't have anybody. We got kids, but they don't come by to take us out for an afternoon or take us out for lunch. We come in. We invite them. They come over and have lunch with us so we can see you. Right. And just. I want to go there. I used to be Santa Claus every year. And I loved that job. The church I used to do, the St. Vincent de Paul, they would have a dinner there every year. Of course, you Santa Claus, you go and you give your packages out to the kids, and then they do the St. Nicholas Day where I get the Pope's or the bishop's outfit on, and go around the church, and I used to love that because you're talking to the kids and oh yeah. This is a story. Many years ago, I was talking to these kids, and this little kid come up to me, and he says, I never asked him, what do you want for Christmas? I always asked him, what are you going to do for Christmas? How are you going to help your parents? You know, are you going to help your little neighbor? He looks me in the eye and says, I want a cement mixer. And without blinking an eye, I said, gee whiz, you must be an Italian. And I thought, now why did I say that? His mother was standing right behind him and she laughed. He says, yeah, that's what he was. Yeah, we are Italian, she says. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Was it a fairly wide ethnic, like when you were growing up, or not maybe growing up, but as a young man?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it probably was, but as a young fella, up until I was about 10, I didn't know one. For instance, in 1945, my grandparents came out. They retired. They came out from the prairies and stayed with us for a short time. And I guess Mother must have had a party or something for the neighborhood kids in our basement. And my grandmother came flying up the stairs. She says, Alma, that was my mom's name. She says, there's a Chinaman in the basement. We all rushed to see where. Well, it was one of the boys we used to play with, Tommy Yee. Well, he didn't know he was a Chinaman.
He was just Tommy.
Yeah. With Grandma, I guess from the prairie, they didn't see too many of them, I guess. I don't know. But we thought, boy, that's strange. Yeah. But we had a lot of Chinese around, but I wouldn't know an Italian from a Greek in those days. Everybody came into our shop, you treated them the same, whether they were whatever.
Right.
And my parents were not churchgoers. So I guess my dad, he was a little bit just for business. You got to keep in the know. Mm-hmm. But my mother wasn't. And
but yet you ended up going to church quite a bit.
Yeah, I started going to Sunday school in 1945 because there was a church at the corner. It was a United Church. And but when I got working, I didn't bother going. And I became a convert to Catholicism. I guess I went to a mass one day with Mabel for something. I don't know, when I left there, I felt quite different. I felt, there's something here that maybe I'm missing in life, So I started going to the RCIA and doing some studying here and there, and I decided, yeah, I think I'm going to become a Catholic because I rather enjoy the message here, and I don't know. Never regretted it.
That's interesting, though, because you could have just enjoyed it and continued to go without taking the complete step of converting.
Oh, yeah.
But yet you did.
Yeah.
You felt like you needed, or it was something that you were supposed to do.
I don't know if you ever been that way, but I felt I had a sign that there was something there, that maybe I can reach out to, I guess. I don't know. It's strange. I just felt something that was there reaching out to me. And, I loved it. It was good. And I really miss not going to church. I tell people that every day. I got to get over there. Just
how close is it to where you are now?
2 blocks.
Oh.
But with my hips and my back, I can't sit in the pew. Right. And so I took my scooter in there, and it's wheelchair rather. They let you take them in there, but my vision is not too good either now, getting worse. And I find intersections are those walk and don't walk things, I have to wait for somebody to come by or get run over. Right. So I don't feel safe unless I have somebody with me. So, I don't know. I tell you, when your health starts going, boy, your life changes big time. So look after yourself.
When did you start to feel you had to start changing the way you did things?
Oh, I guess about 7 years ago. Things started going. I had a little heart trouble, so they gave me a pill. I forget what it was. Amiodarone it was called. It did the job. There was two side effects. One was scarring of the lungs, which you end up with COPD, and then your thyroid goes crazy. Well, I had both. So they rushed me in and they took out my thyroid, which is no big deal. You just have to pop a pill every day. And you take puffers for your lungs. Well then, all of a sudden, another side effect was neuropathy. I got extreme neuropathy. I woke up one morning, I couldn't move my legs. And then slowly, the rest of your body starts shutting down. Then your fingers don't work, you know. And then your eyesight, it's the optic nerve gets affected. And that's when my eyesight started going. So through lots of hard work, in the basement on a bicycle, and I got my legs working where I can walk. If I had, you know, I need help though, and I can't do anything. I love woodworking. Right. I used to carve. I can't even do that no more. So, and all my tools I gave to Casey. He said, "You may as well have them."
Did you have, like you mentioned, woodwork hobby? Like, what were the things? Did you always like to woodwork? Obviously, you bought the. You scooped the camper from the guy who turned it into a camper, the crummy. So you liked working with your hands, the grease. That seems to be your thing, whether it was work or hobby.
I always did stuff that way, yeah. I wasn't much of a gardener. I liked it a little bit, but I would rather go out there and I always had a truck, somebody's truck in the backyard with and the neighbors would complain about the noise. You know, the old diesels there, you have them. But yeah, I just loved the machinery. Yeah, I was always making things for the Boy Scouts, and you know, remember one year we had a night thing up in the mountains. A bunch of kids got together with different groups who they're going to attack this UFO up there somewhere, and so I made a UFO, and quite a fancy little rig actually. It was a dome off a ventilator, legs. I had lights on it, and the thing was, he had a plastic disc, and whoever found this thing had electrified too. They get a jolt off a coil if they touched it. And it slipped this plastic disc into there, and the tape message told them in 10 seconds it was going to self-destruct, which I had some flares designed underneath, so they went off. Woof, scared the shit out of them. So, well, that's the kind of stuff I used to make, you know.
Did you sports? Did you play? Were you interested in sports at all? Or not?
I played football in high school.
Yeah,
that's about the extent of it. And bit of baseball one year with one of the places I was working had a team, a beer league. We used to play at China Creek in Vancouver, and for White Motors. But yeah, it was hard. I was the manager. Hard to keep guys coming out because the transient players, you know. I did it 1 year, so that's enough for me.
Ever learn how to skate?
Oh yeah, I used to skate. Whenever I come up with some money, we go to Queens Park on the rink there, or on occasion the lake would freeze over, and we skated on there. Not very often, but we did. And we played lacrosse as a kids, just throw the ball around. Never any league. But we never had no parks. You couldn't play on Central Park, they'd kick you off. Right. Schoolyards were all gravel, and they didn't like you playing on the schoolyard anyway for breaking windows. The Ford plant was good though. They would let you play on their lawn a little bit. And Kelly Douglas, if you didn't get caught, you're okay. But I remember one time, this is changing the subject, there was Magistrate Grant, a nice guy. He had a house.
His name was Magistrate?
He was the magistrate.
Oh, he was the magistrate, right, of course.
He lived on Sussex and Kingsway, on the corner there. He had a big house in there, an orchard. And he had a picket fence with these round, I guess about 1.5 inch pickets or something. Anyway, I was coming home from school one time and thought, Of course, I took one of these things off the fence and went running down the fence till they rattled. Brrr. I'll be go to hell if who wasn't standing down there was the magistrate. Well, kid, he said, shall I take you home? Oh, geez. Or I tell you what, he says, you come here after school tomorrow. I got a whole bunch of apple trees here need picking. And you pick these apples and we'll forget about it. That sounded good to me. Of course, what am I going to tell my dad, though? I'm supposed to be there working. So I had to confess. And he laughed. He said, well, you go pick the apples. So anyway, when I got the apples picked, he gave me a big box full to take home. Yeah, he was a nice fella. All them old houses there got moved from there on Sussex down to our street when they opened it up. Yeah.
But back when you were a kid and everyone knew, you knew the entire neighborhood.
Oh, sure.
Everybody, you could go anywhere and it was all...
Today I can tell you, I still remember the names of the people that lived around there, yeah. Darn rights. All good folks. Wasn't too many transients. There was a couple of houses that changed over, but by and large they're all old-time residents. Yeah. They're old houses, but they're all good. Like I say, a lot of them are moved there. Our house was the last one on the street until they opened it up. Yeah. And they changed Dover, the next street down, it had three names. There was Dover until you got to Sussex, and then it became Edna. From there over to Wellington, then it became Grange from Wellington to Kingsway. Same bloody street. But it wasn't opened up. One time Kay Jackson and there used to be a girl called Cookie Campbell. She lived on Pioneer, just off of Kingsway. I had a big family there. I forget, there was Tinky and Cookie. They all had strange names, nicknames. The old man, he was a car mechanic, and he had a car up on the jack one time, and it fell on him, and it kind of buggered him up for good for working, I guess. So I don't think they had much for income in those days. But anyway, Cookie went to school with us. So Kay Jackson and I and Cookie met some guy from the Burnaby Heritage Museum or something. And Kay said, well, come on, we'll walk you through the neighborhood here and tell you who's who. We'll go through all the old businesses. So he came and we did that. We walked around and went through the stores that would let you go in. But and then we walked upstairs to the back where Kay used to live. The damn old apartment's still there. And we walked in there, and the bathroom was there, and I said, holy shit, that's the tub I had my first bath in. The cooks, I guess, when I came along, we didn't have hot water, running water. So they used to let us go up there and have a bath. And I can remember getting in that bathtub and turning I couldn't figure that out. Oh, geez, yeah, that was great. But that old place is still there. The rooms are still the same. Well, they're full of equipment now. They did those cartridges, what do you call them, for printers? They fill the cartridges? Yeah, ink places, yeah. But, oh, geez, yeah. And then downstairs there was, the Hughes had a big chimney sweeping business on the end there. Eddie Hughes was one we palled with. I remember his brothers were a bit older than we were, but they put up a big bar in the back, just a couple of pipes in the ground with a bar across. And they could get up there and reach it, but us little guys, we couldn't. And they used to tell us, well, you're not growed up till you can jump up there and grab that bar. Well, you don't know how we tried. Yeah, Hughes. Funny, he got playing in a rock band, and we went into the Hope Legion one time. That's Mabel's brother was the steward there. And at intermission time, this guy come over. He said, "Do you remember me?" And I said, "Geez, no, I don't." He said, "I'm Eddie Hughes." And I guess the last time I saw him probably was in the, I don't know, late 40s, I guess. One Halloween, though, they always had a big fire in the back. Every Halloween I think of this. And we were all roasting our wieners and marshmallows. And this guy, I don't know who he was. He came in from the alley all dressed up in a robot cardboard outfit, tennis ball eyes, and scared the shit out of us kids coming in there. Well, he tripped. He fell right in the bloody fire. Oh. Well, there was a kerfuffle then with the adults. Well, this was cardboard. They all of a sudden... Anyway, all his kids were ushered away. Time they got him out of there. And I guess he survived, but he got burned pretty bad. But sure looked good in that outfit. Yeah.
It's amazing what you remember.
Yeah. And then up at Central Park, Halloween, I guess the Lions Club used to have a fireworks there too. But one year they, I don't know what exactly happened, but somebody told me they had a bunch of rockets laid out on a table or something, and they all got fire somehow, and they started taking off, and I guess a number of people got injured from these rockets. So I think that was the last year we had fireworks there. Yeah.
Was Christmas always a big deal as a kid, and then as a dad?
No, when I was younger, it wasn't a big deal. But when we got into our new house, my grandparents and one of my mother's sisters moved in with us. And they were great Christmas people. Oh, geez, decorations and parcels for everybody. Well, we never had I used to get a parcel, sure, who didn't? But there was just, I don't know, they went crazy at Christmas time. And we always ate well. Of course, Dad had a business. But one year I hated Christmas. He used to go to Cloverdale to the co-op killing there, and he would buy all his turkeys and poultry and whatever from them guys. And Christmas time, we'd have to clean them. Well, guess who got the job, eh? He used to bring them in. They weren't dressed because they would keep longer if you left the guts in them. Because we never had enough refrigeration. So as people would buy their turkeys, I would have to clean them and take the legs off and all that kind of stuff. Jesus, there was a lot of turkeys to clean. But yeah, I was glad to see that year over. And then one year they had a Newcastle disease in the valley, which killed all the poultry. And Dad said, well, I got to have some poultry for my customers. So my grandfather and him, they built this hutch, chicken coop thing off the ground about that high. Oh, geez, I don't know how long it was. And he bought a bunch of capon chicks, and he raised them. Come Christmas time, we had these 6, 7, 8 pound capons. And then, but they had to be killed, and they had to be cleaned and plucked. So my job was to catch them, take them in the basement, and hang them up. And then my grandfather, he would stick them and bleed them. And one of my aunts would start pulling the feathers off. Oh, Jesus. I don't know how many there was, but there was feathers and guts and blood all over that.
I can see when your dad asked you if you wanted to get into the butcher shop while you had your ideas on other things.
Forget that. Oh, yeah, I was determined. I used to watch these guys come in the cooler with these big sides of beef, and they'd flip them up on the hook. And day after day, I'd go in and get something I'd look at that. But, I wonder if I could do that. I got it off the hook okay.
Yeah.
But me and I remember the old man laughing like hell. I guess he came in and found me laying on the floor of the cooler with a side of beef on top of me. Yeah. Oh, jeez. A lot of fun.
Morgan said something to me interesting just when we were chatting last week or so. Because, you talk about, too, how you were away a lot.
Yeah.
Because you know what? My dad was always away, and he maybe didn't talk that much, but it always seemed like he was there.
Yeah.
So that says something.
Yeah.
Again, so involved in their activities and things. That they
Yeah, I
would
think
do.
so. Yeah. We never laid around much. Always going. And but these kids are Morgan and them are a great help to me. Um, in respect to if I want something, they go shop for me. Or we call Morgan Mr. Fix-It. He comes every second Sunday for 2 or 3 hours is all he can spare. And if anything he's doing, he does it the best he can, little things to fix up. Like fixing Mabel's computer or stuff like that. Or he used to, my headphones don't work, so I fiddle around with them, get them working or something like that. Nothing really extravagant, of course. But so it's nice to know he's there in case he needs something built. He give him time and he'll do it. You want to rush him.
Do you think a lot about the old days, or not really?
Oh,
Or you,
all the time.
yeah.
I sit around, think about the old days. You betcha I do all the time. And this guy really buggered me up the other day when he told me I worked with him 50 years ago. I told you that one, didn't I? Yeah. Incredible. Trouble is, his memory isn't all that good, so we can't really. I'll mention somebody, he might remember them, or he might remember that job. But we do have a few things in common that we do remember.
But he remembered you.
Yeah. Correct. Oh, I don't know. We used to go down to the beach and throw stones.
Clearing land at Fanny Bay.
Yep. Clearing land at Fanny Bay. Oh, gosh. Yeah, I don't know. When a rainy day would come, maybe we'll throw him in the car and take him down to Victoria for the day into the museum there or something, or go up to Long Beach. Or there was never any moment that they weren't doing something. They probably don't remember that. All they might remember is being told to wash the dishes. Make your bed. Forget that, eh? Oh, yeah. Well, Kyle was very content with give him a little truck that used to dig around in the sand pile. He was quite content with doing that all the time. Just all by himself. Yep. Or we'd have somebody in there with a backhoe digging a hole or doing something. He'd like to stand there and just watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he was good to travel with. Oh, yeah, we had maybe my brother Bill had a farm, a little hobby ranch up in Merritt.
Who had that?
Mabel's brother.
Oh, okay.
His name was Bill. And he was a bachelor, a war vet. And I brought the kids up there ice fishing. And took the scouts up there. And our own family used to go up, and he had a horse. We'd ride a horse around. And anyway, he was killed in a car wreck. And but he had left the farm to us. And it got to be a real problem living down here in Vancouver area and having that place up there, keeping control of who's in it and so forth. But anyway, we used to have a lot of fun going up there ice fishing and getting up early. And another story too, this time we went up there with the scouts. They camped in the backyard, and we went up to Mammoth Lake to do ice fishing. And the boys got the hockey sticks out, and George promptly got smacked in the mouth with a puck and busted his front teeth off. And like a good parent said, "Does it hurt, George?" "Oh, no." "Okay." Guess we carried on. I never thought much about it, and that was on a Saturday, and we drove home Sunday, and I got looking at it close, and here's the old nerves are hanging there, and holy shit, he don't feel anything. He got no, what do you call it? You don't feel pain.
Right.
Good thing. Anyway, I got shit for that. But the kids loved going up to see Uncle Bill. Yeah, it was fun, because it was different. Just getting on the horse. And Cindy was allergic to horses, so she was told. But we used to put her on the horse anyway, just to walk her around the paddock. And I remember one time, Bill used to wait for me to go up there because there was always something to do. So I drove up there this time, and oh, good, he says, my colt, he says, or my horse, I castrated it and it bled to death. Says, can you think you could take it up and dump it somewhere? I said, well, how the hell am I going to move a bloody horse? I don't know, but it's been laying out there and it's getting pretty big. You know, oh my God. So fortunately, it was under a tree. Just like the old cowboy days, you put a rope over a limb and tie it around and hitch her up to the truck and you pulled it up.
Yeah.
I thought, well, that's fine. Now I got it hanging in the air, but how am I going to back under that damn thing? So I had to put another rope on it and tie it off so I could back under it. Anyway, you had to do whatever Bill wanted to do. So we had to haul it up into the boonies and push it off somewhere. But I don't know, that man, I'll tell you. Or you'd have to go find his horses. I took a bunch of boys up one spring, and the first thing we had to do was go find his horses. They'd come down from the winter. And seemingly up in that country, everybody turns their horses out. And when they all come down in the springtime, whoever sees them puts the word out that the horses are down. So you might see the horses there, but yours are in there someplace. So you got to go over there and cut them out. Well, I'm no horseman. So fortunately, next door there was a chap, Dennis, little Indian chap. So he says, well, I'll come and help you out. So we drove across the river, and we all spread, the boys and I, we spread across here, and we walked that way, and all the horses went down into this dead-end canyon kind of a thing. And then this little, Washington was his name, I think. He went in there and cut out Bill's horses, and we went back. But that took a whole day. So there goes a day's fun. But the boys enjoyed that.
Right.
Except I took account, one boy's missing. And we're right by the old Nicola River in the spring, and it's roaring there pretty good. Oh my God. If he's fallen and gone in the river, where the hell is he now? We're 40 miles from Spence's Bridge. So we quickly ran out and nobody saw him. I thought I better go phone the cops and tell them to keep an eye out. So it wasn't long before this little Indian fellow was back, and he had this kid. He tracked him down a ways. And I said, what are you doing? Oh, he says, I thought the horses went that way. Oh, Jesus. All it takes is one kid to spoil it, eh?
Yeah. Well, and again, a lot to keep an eye on.
Then I had another guy. Scouting trips, there's always something happening. This was before I started doing more checking. Anyway, we got up to this winter camp. I had my bus at that time. We all boiled out, and here's this kid standing there in shoes and a sports coat. I says, where's your jacket and pants? Oh, I didn't bring them. I forgot them. It's below zero weather, and you're up here in a sports coat, and so, oh, geez. I said, well, you know what your job's going to be here? You see that fire? You just keep it going all weekend because, buddy, that's where you're going to be. Oh. Yeah, his name was Zorse. Nice kid. So after that now, Thursday nights before we went anywhere, I made the kids bring all their equipment over into the gym, put it on the floor, and let's go through it all. You don't need that, and you don't need that.
Right.
So when you get there, you've got everything. And Zorse, I want to see a change of clothes here. So I phoned his father about it, and he made sure, by God. He had clothes all right. Oh, dear. And then another young fella skiing at Manning Park, and his name was, I can't think, Palm, I think it was. Anyway, he said, I want to make one more run. Well, make it quick. So down he come with a ski patrol, broken leg. Oh. So anyway, I thought, well, that's going to be great fun telling his parents that.
I was going to say that's the hardest part of the job is coming back and listen.
We got him home. Fortunately, we were in a bus, so he was well splinted, and we got him into the Burnaby General Hospital. And then he picked up the telephone. If you're looking for your boy, he's down here in the hospital. But, oh well. These things, it could have been worse.
Anything else about your parents that you'd like
Well,
maybe your kids or the grandkids to know?
well, they probably didn't know that their great grandfather was a singer. He used to perform on the stage. Your great grandma would make him dresses and wigs and stuff, and he'd get up and perform and sing these old English music hall stuff, because he liked that. As a matter of fact, the night before he died, your grandmother played the piano for him at a session at Burnaby's Ski Free Supper Club. I think it was Lions or somebody. He got up and did his usual. People liked it. He put on a good show. And the next morning he took a heart attack. So he did what he liked doing.
How old were you then when he died?
About 22, I guess. Yeah.
Never easy.
No, I was offshore, and the company sent a water taxi over and picked me up, brought me back. That was good of them. And he lasted for a short time in the hospital, but never long. I got to see him before he died anyway. And then your grandma was a stubborn old Scotch lady. She was 87. Smoked like a chimney and drank a bottle of whiskey a week. Yeah.
Was she fun too? Your dad seemed like he was kind of fun, singing songs.
Well, Grandma, she was pretty stern. When I was younger, she used to play the piano and sing a little bit. They both sang in these operetta things. So there was always music in the house. But, there was problems there too with, I'd rather not talk too much about it right now. But she was a stubborn old lady. Yeah. I guess that's where I got it from.
So you have music in the house when you were a kid. Was there music in the house when you were with your family, your kids?
Yes. My Cindy was very good at piano until she met boys. And then Kelly played an accordion for a bit. And George played trombone, guitar for a bit. Morgan plays the guitar quite well, as does Casey. And Morgan, he jazzes with a bunch of guys all the time. And Morgan, I don't know, I haven't heard him play recently, but when I have done, it plays well. And I played cornet as a young man, and guitar a bit. And yeah, so we had a lot of fun. I was in the Navy Reserves for a while. That was a lot of fun. We used to get the East Coast training, in the Great Lakes, travel around. Yeah. But it was hard working out of town and being in the reserves too, because you weren't there as regular as you should be. But yeah. But
do you remember buying your first car?
Yes, I do. Actually, I went to Big Motors at 12th and Kingsway. I had my father drive me down, and I bought a 1938 Ford convertible. And I drove it home. Didn't have a license, but I drove it home anyway. I paid $400 for that car. Yep, sure was a nice little car. Drove that for a long time. Then I had to get a truck. Needed something to haul tools and stuff in. Yeah. Oh yeah. Gosh, kind of wish I had it back.
You have been listening to In Your Own Words, a conversation with Jack Nichols, produced and hosted by Shane Foxman.